coffee snafu this morning, so I apologize for the late start. Who's going to get us started with something good in their neighborhood? What's going on in your deals? We had a slow day yesterday. I'm hoping you guys are coming with a little more energy today. What do we got? Somebody got something? I know Kate Garvey is here and just can't wait to talk to us about unrepresented buyers. I am excited to do that. Are we nervous? Are we nervous to bring our deals to the table? Stacy, what do you got? Thanks for saving us this morning.
I'm very excited. I have two new listing appointments today, and they happen to be in the same town. I'm very excited.
All right. All right. Let's talk about the sources. Where are these coming from? Are these referrals? Are these leads? Are these what are they? How do we get them?
One came from Zillow, and one I called out
What
of
do you,
second voice.
s- oh, like so this is like just a pool of old leads that you were just calling on?
Yeah, one of them, and then one was a
What
call, like a
was a
direct
live call?
call.
Awesome. Awesome. I
Yay.
mean, I think and we've talked a little bit about this, like, hey, we've got to be able to take advantage of credit repair leads, and how do we, take advantage of those, and what are our options? But people that have kind of been hanging around for a while, it just shocks me. I was talking to an agent yesterday who, went into some of our older leads, and whether it's leads or whether it's your sphere or, and the response was, hey, already bought. Hey, you know what? We're closing next week. And these are people that are in our CRM. They're showing activity. And for whatever reason, we just seem to be looking for the new shiny, right? Who's the latest person in my sphere? Who's the latest lead to reach out to me? Instead of taking care of the people that we already have the contact information for, instead of taking care for the friends and family that you already have. So that's the skill set that I think the best agents excel at, is not always looking for the new. It's, hey, let's just take care of the ones that I got. If I take care of the ones that I got, they'll do business with me, and they're also going to refer out. So it's great to hear that you went into a pool of quote unquote old leads, but no different from an agent that's not on a leads team that would be just calling through their sphere. When's the last time you guys have talked to everybody? I really think the future, especially with everything that's going on in AI, you've got to be a master of your CRM. And if you are a sphere agent, you've got to have a CRM that is going to tell you when's the last time you talked to every person in your sphere. We can get very caught up in the day to day. I talk to the same 5 or 10 people. I do the same routines, and we don't get to, that maybe B tier or C tier of person in your network that just a quick conversation. Hey, can you believe everything that's going on in real estate and all this AI stuff? And just having a conversation. There's no need to even bring up real estate. If they bring up real estate, great. It's probably going to come up in the conversation. So um, I don't know. I hope that we are getting on the phones and having conversations. Like, I just think we're just too reactive in general. Um,
Yeah, one of them said I was really excited because he said, my sister is a realtor, and I said, "Oh, okay, that's great. And how would you feel about working with family?" And he goes, "We don't get along." And I said, "Okay, I've had that objection come up as well." I said, "It's probably just better to give me a shot. I'll come over, go through what can happen when we sell your home." And he said, "You know what?" I said, "Well, I give him a time," and he said, "Can you be here earlier? I really like your energy." And I was like, "Oh, I like that compliment."
yeah, I think for whatever reason, and this was absolutely in the back of my head. This is the monkey brain talking when I was first getting in, of like calling people that I'm like, well, this person, they're pretty popular. They run this local business. They know everybody. Why are they going to use me? And to this day, I've got an individual who is in my network. I've done multiple transactions with, that I met through Zillow. Um, and I know for a fact that this person knows other people in the industry. So sometimes it's not even just that you know people, it's that you're just uncomfortable working with that person or you feel weird bothering them. You know, I tell the story all the time of my neighbor five doors down that came in as a Zillow lead. I mean, I walk past this house, we talk on a weekly basis probably. Came in as a Zillow lead. He absolutely knows what I do for a living. Um,
Oh, it's
but
funny.
yeah, if we're not gonna get on the phones and we're not gonna, if it's social media, then start sending DMs. But it's
Yep.
very easy to, I don't know, not take action, right? So
Yeah, definitely win 'em over on the phone,
yeah,
communication.
phones is, I don't know. To me, it's you start on the DMs and the text, and then you make your way to the phones. So, anybody else have a win similar, or I really like this topic. I hope it generates somebody to go take some action that maybe they've been holding off on because I really think that's all the business is just kind of staying in the loop, talking to people, moving, shaking, and being a resource. But too many people are just sitting waiting for people to reach out to you. Anybody else want to share? We were we were taking a look at the CRM. When you're on a leads situation, month to month, the lead flow can differ. And we are on a down month right now where we will get less leads than we did in previous months. So, in my mind, okay, so that just means more outreach to all the leads that we already have. I communicated this to our group. We took a look at the CRM data, didn't really see an increase in outreach, right? So I'm assuming most of the agents hear the message, but for whatever reason, we're reluctant to go and take that action. Um, and we have the stat that over 50% of the deals that we closed last year, lead source deals, were more than 9 months old in the system. Right? It's just real estate, regardless whether it's your friend or family member or it's an online lead. The first inclination that you get from that person that they're thinking about buying real estate is usually months away from them transaction. So a lot of times we're looking for that new shiny penny, that new lead that's coming in, that new sphere. I remember this is a few months back talking to an agent that said, I've got probably 6 or 7 listings coming. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people have told me they're going to list their house and it just never happens, right? They're thinking about it, something changes, they get the value and they don't want it, right? And I know in the back of this agent's head, they were thinking that's 6 or 7 commission checks. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking maybe 1 or 2 commission checks this year because it's not something that's like you're buying a sneakers and okay, I need a new pair of sneakers. And within the next week, maybe a month, you've got a new pair of sneakers. These are, it takes months, if not years, to pull the trigger on making these types of life decisions. Linda.
So things are a little bit quiet here right now in Florida. And so I decided that I was going to go back into my database and start calling people from, years ago that I got into homes. And I only was able to connect with one person who actually answered the phone. Everything else, I was leaving voice messages, but it felt horrible. It felt awkward. I haven't spoken to these folks. I got them, all of them, into beautiful homes, 5, 6 years ago. I checked to make sure that they were all still there before I made the phone calls, and they all are. But it didn't feel good. It didn't feel comfortable. It felt awkward. But I had to do it, right? Because the only way to do it is to do it. Um,
Yeah, well, I like the fact that you said it feels awkward, right? So I want to kind of talk through that. It feels awkward because you're like, why does this person even going to hear from me? I haven't talked to him in 5 or 10 years. Is that?
Cor- Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That's
Okay.
exactly why. And I didn't want to even I didn't mention real estate really. I just called and left a message and I just said, you know what? You popped into my mind. We haven't talked in so long, and I just wanted to see how you all are doing. You know, and I said, I know you're very busy. I don't know if you have time to call me back. If you don't, I completely understand. But if you do, here's my number. But I just wanted you to know that you were on my mind, and I'm wishing you guys all the very best. And that's the way I left it in these voice messages, because what else am I supposed to say?
Sure. Well, I can give you a couple other things that I think, because I've gotten this objection from a lot of agents, right? Of why, well, man, I haven't, called them in 5 or 10 years. It just feels awkward. I mean, I always just think honesty is the best policy, right? So if we're looking at our database of, hey, I sold houses to these 100 people, right? And you didn't follow up. The honest answer is, right? The real reason why you didn't follow up is you got busy with your current business. And so I think the easy conversation to have with your past clients when you pick up the phone, hey, Linda, it's Steve Ravithis. Not sure if you remember me. It's been about a decade since we talked. I sold you that house over on Fox Farm. And man, I just realized I had gotten so caught up in finding new business. I've done a terrible job of being a resource for my past clients. And so I've made a commitment to myself that I'm going to put more focus on my past clients and try and be that resource, because I know I've got a lot of connections in the community. I know I can add value, and it's just been something that I am committed to in 2025.
Oh, I love that, Steve.
Right?
I
Like,
love
let's
that.
just be honest with the situation. That's what's happening to most of us. We just,
True.
right? We drop the ball. Hey, just we drop the ball. Right? I can promise you, there is 1 in 500 agents that does past client follow up at the highest level. Nobody does this well. It is a wide open area. For whatever reason, it is just not a strength that I've seen out of agents that have come through over the years. It's just not, And the best of the best have some sort of a system that'll make sure that this actually happens, right? Client appreciation events, some sort of a service that they pay for. But the reality is, most of us aren't doing it. So let's just be honest, and then be a resource. Hey, there's a lot of different ways I could add value. Is there anything, right, that is coming to mind right now? Is there a contractor reference that I might be able to help you with? Is there something going on? Have you made some changes to your property? And just start asking some questions. Anybody else done this recently, or have something that helped you get over the hump of making this phone call?
Mother's Day. It's one of the
Okay.
easiest ones.
So how'd that work, Tyler?
Just reached out to all my past clients that had families. I mean, I reached out to both husband and wife and just said Happy Mother's Day. Hope you guys doing well. Maybe personalize it a little bit. Didn't take longer than 30 minutes, and I got replies from like 75% of them.
Yeah,
And then it extended a conversation.
I love it. I love the use of holidays, the use of anniversaries. The home anniversary is the easiest one in my book. When you wish them, happy anniversary on their purchase date, they have no idea. And it'd be like, most of the time you're going to get a weird response like, it's not my anniversary. What are you talking about? Or I think you've got the wrong person or something like that. It's like, no, it's your home anniversary, and you get a chuckle out of it. And so, yeah. And again, the only way to kind of keep track of all this stuff was with a strong CRM. So obviously the holidays are one where you don't need a CRM. But that's a great share, Tyler. I appreciate you dropping that nugget. And if you didn't take advantage of Mother's Day, hopefully you'll take advantage of the next holiday as a way to reach out. And I do think you got to try and personalize it. I think that just the generic, Happy 4th of July that comes through is just that doesn't feel so warm and fuzzy. So you got to do something to personalize those messages.
Yeah, and at least Mother's Day and Father's Day are something we can all relate to and don't have any religious connotations that I know of or whatever. It connects with everybody, families at the end of the day.
Anybody else, with an objection or why you don't feel comfortable making these calls or why you're not making the calls or I think I want you guys to feel confident in making that call. Like those calls, quarterly, just, and you just got to get through it. You got to find that, mojo, whether that's music or a certain environment or something. And you got to make these dials. I promise you, your past clients need you. There's some question that they don't have the answer to that you could help them. You could be the solution for, but you got to have the conversations to know that they're even open or struggling with something. All right, Kate, let's get that attorney on the line. Let's talk unrepresented clients.
Hello, everybody. Can people see? Yeah, there I am. Okay.
Yes.
How's everybody doing today? Oh, it's a lovely Tuesday. So yes, what I've been seeing a little bit more often than not these days are unrepresented parties. So whether that's unrepresented, like there's no attorney. In Massachusetts and Connecticut, you need to have an attorney on the buy side for title insurance, but you do not need one on the sale side. So as far as attorneys goes, if they're unrepresented, it's on the sale side. But I've also, and I just had a very interesting closing where the buyer was unrepresented, did not have an agent. And a lot of issues can arise from that. I don't think people realize how important an agent is in a transaction. I know I do, because when there's not one in a transaction, it means everybody is doing a lot more work, and getting questions answered and things like that. But in this case, there was a really important contingency on a mortgage that was never disclosed. Whether it was intentional or not, I don't think it was, but it's something that, had my client known, they might not have picked this offer. And it did pose a problem, but it got resolved and we closed and we're good to go. But it just, if you are an agent and there is no agent on the other side, I guess my advice would be, get all the information you can, ask all of the questions, ask as if they were your client and you needed to know all of that too. I don't think this was on the agent, but just, I feel like going forward, you can always, to be more informed is better than to be less informed, right? And unfortunately, for the agent side of things, if there's not an agent on the other side, you're doing a lot more work. The agent.
The other thing I want to point out, guys, is depending on your state, there's going to be a form that you got to make sure that the other side is signing. Because I can definitely see a situation where the other side thinks they're represented, or they came to you, you were listing the the house, and they meet you at the open house, and they think that they are being represented by you, and they're not, and that is definitely opening up some legal issues if you don't make sure they're signing the proper documents that say that I represent the seller, I don't represent you. So I just want to make that very clear. Most states have their own form for that.
And I don't know if anybody's experienced, has an experience with no agent on the other side. But when there's no attorney, the seller needs to know what they're responsible for. Like, technically, they're responsible for drafting a purchase and sale agreement. If they have an agent, maybe their TC will do it or whatnot, but getting all of the final numbers, balancing numbers with the other attorney, drafting deeds, doing stuff like that. There's a lot of things that a seller's attorney does. So if there's no attorney involved, that falls on the seller. Some attorneys for a fee will draft the documents and do all of that kind of stuff. I personally do not like to do that. I'm not saying that I 100% won't, but I tend to say no to that. Just because if there's, an issue with the deed, if there's an issue, it falls back on you. So I tend to not do that. So, if you are in that situation, see what the attorney is willing to do. But there's a lot that falls on the seller if there is no attorney. And sometimes I don't think that they realize that. And they think, okay, they're just saving, $900, when at the end of the day, that money is probably well spent because they don't have to deal with all of the numbers and the back and forth. But there's a lot of responsibility if you are not represented by an attorney and you are a seller. So if you are representing them as an agent, that's important to know.
Anybody had a deal recently where the other side was unrepresented, and anything that you want to maybe point out, or hey, this happened or that happened, that would be a good share for the group?
No.
Okay. Talkative group today, Kate.
Yeah, I mean, just whether unrepresented as an attorney or an agent, it can just lead to issues. It could lead to issues and then delay closing or kill a deal or, so you just have to be, careful if you are in that situation, to make sure everyone's aware too. And I would imagine advising your client accepting an offer of if there was no agent involved or no attorney involved, advising your clients too of the possible issues that could arise.
Nicole, go ahead.
I had one recently. Kate actually was the attorney on it. So my client, she was my previous client. I was selling her house for, and she wanted to put an offer, and the seller did not want any agents involved at all. So she had to kind of go in it alone. I helped her with the paperwork a little bit with the offer, but she had done it before she got me involved. So I just kind of had questions I asked her, and she thought she had everything put together the right way. And then what Kate can actually speak to it, I think more, we got maybe a week or two before closing, and it turns out there was never actually a purchase and sale written up for her purchase. So it almost entirely fell apart because there was no agent involved at all.
Yeah, I represented her on her sale.
On her sale, and she was going to use you for the buy side, but then her lender advised her to use a different attorney. So me and Kate were completely out of the loop with everything going on.
Yeah, so we literally, if it wasn't for my paralegal Sam, I don't know if her purchase would have happened, because Sam caught it and was like, "What is going on?" So not being represented on is it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. And you think about things like a purchase and sale that seems so, of course we have a purchase and sale, but when there's no one there to kind of do that negotiating and to get those documents done, there was no purchase and sale. I don't know how the bank even got as far as they did without it, but I don't know. That wasn't my transaction, but we did help save it.
Anybody else have a situation that would be good to discuss? Either side unrepresented? All right. What else is on your minds? We got an open forum here. We got 4 minutes left. We can tackle one more thing. Who's struggling with something? Do we want to go back to market conditions? Do we want to talk about sphere or outreach? Go ahead, Stacy.
So I've had a lot of unrepresented buyers come into open houses lately, which I've done a lot in the past, so I'm fine with that. But interesting that Kate said like no attorneys. Wow, that's shocking. So I actually have never had that. Thank God everyone wants an attorney. I don't even know what I would do.
It's horrible.
So what is the language? If anyone has, I always say, and you can pick an attorney I recommend, or like I've never said you shouldn't have an attorney, or you. So
yeah, what typically happens, Stacey, is I've had this happen on the sales side. Is you've got an investor or somebody that does a lot of business, and they just don't want to use an attorney, or you've got that FISBO type of client, and this is usually on the sell side, that just says, "Well, why do I need an attorney?" Right? And unfortunately, what typically ends up happening, because they don't, like Kate said at the beginning, they don't technically need an attorney, but now all the work is going to get put onto the buyer's attorney / the buyer's agent, and maybe even the listing agent. And these usually get to the finish line, but they can get sloppy and things can get missed. But yeah, in theory, they don't They don't
Okay, so my
actually need
experience,
one.
everyone has an attorney, but definitely a lot of buyers I find want to come right direct into open houses and don't want representation. And then I end up doing like double the work because there's no other realtor on the other side, which is fine. But oh, the attorney thing, that would be, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. So just something to be aware of. Lauren, I saw your hand up as well. You guys can't put your hands up and then take them down and not think I'm going to
Well,
see them.
well, mine was kind of unrelated, so I didn't want to pull it away from this topic if we were finishing up, if this is what happened. Um, so I've actually just noticed way back to beginning of this call, we were talking about just like follow up. And it's honestly not only older lead follow up. If we have new leads that are coming into the system, right, for our leads agents, that they aren't ready right away, those ones are just being kind of left to die also. So I think it's just an overall thing, right? Where agents really are trying to focus on right now who's next business. And I think it's just a mindset that we need to switch up, because for a long time, anybody who's new to this industry the last couple of years, it was easy to find in general now buyers, now buyers, now buyers, where you didn't have to do that additional level of work. So if you weren't here before then, you don't know that, right? And I think it's going to be a switch up for just a lot of people.
Yeah. And I know, like, if you whatever, take a coaching seminar on this stuff or whatever, you're going to hear, well, I'm just checking in is the worst thing that you can say. You want to try and come and add some value. But the reality is there are going to be some situations where you are just checking in. I can't tell you how many times somebody says, well, I'm not going to buy for the next 6 to 12 months. We get them set up with the lender. I explain why it's so important to do that now. Let's work on your credit. Let's get you in a better position so you can have access to the best loan products. But then it's not 6 to 12 months. Something changes and they want to buy in 2 or 3 months, right? But maybe it doesn't get back to me for 6 months, or I didn't have a follow-up for 6 months. So it just doesn't hurt to just be like, the call is simply, hey, I know you said you weren't going to be buying for the next 6 to 12 months, but I also know I've had clients that have, things have changed. I just wanted to check in, make sure we're still going on the same timeline. That's all, right? Is there anything I can do for you in between? And just it is literally just a check-in. So I don't like when it's like, I'm just checking in. Do you want to do that every single week or every single month when somebody said, I'm not buying for another year? No. But there are times where you are literally just checking in to see if timelines have changed, because they change all the time. So good point, Lauren. Appreciate you. You've got your script and role play today, correct?
Yeah, we're hopping on there right now.
Yeah. Anything in particular? We kind of mention it, but like, do you have an agenda for today? What are you guys going to be talking about? I think this is a great call that you do, and I think more people should be attending.
Yeah, so I usually build off of this call, kind of whatever the topic was, and to continue that into the first part of whatever we do in there. And then I do quick shoot, like buyer objections. And then we do breakout rooms, so small sort of focus groups on one critical real estate conversation for the week.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I think the breakout groups are just an opportunity for you guys to just have some conversation where, two people are, one person's the buyer, one person's the agent, and one person is typically listening in and kind of giving some feedback is a great way to progress. But maybe, a conversation for today would be calling those past clients that you've lost touch with, because I think a simple conversation of, hey, you know what, I dropped the ball and I'm committed to getting back on track, and here's how I'm going to do it, can really go a long way. So hopefully you guys will do some research or reach out, and you're going to get some wins. It's a numbers game in real estate. You are going to get some wins if you have these conversations. So have yourselves a great Tuesday. We'll come back and do it again tomorrow with the inspector crew. All right. Take care.